Hello everybody and welcome back to the Fortress of Solitude. Today we're talking about Aquaman issue 12 by Jeremy Adams, John Timms, and Rex Locus. This is the big Aquaman versus Hawkman in DCKO round 2 as it kicks off, and we already know the rules, so we hit the ground running with Aquaman battling Hawkman. Two men who became gods clashing together finally. Just before the fight though, we return to Aquaman and his little team on the Nautilus, where Arthur tells the team about the big tournament and what he and the Justice League are planning for the Heart of Apocalypse. The group are rather split, with some wanting to join Arthur and the League, while others, mainly Laurie, believe that they should be out in the oceans defending them when the time comes. Arthur is quick to shut them all down, telling the group that the League are his friends and he trusts and believes in them, and they will do what must be done to win. Andy knows he will win, gifting him a good luck charm as Arthur leaves for the tournament, hoping Andy will look after the team. In my last review of the DCKO Aquaman tie-in, I mentioned how there is something going on with Andy, since technically she's not the real Andy, the real Aquaman's daughter. There's like this idea that she's like from the future, but it was the blue future from where Dagon was kind of ruling everything. Very strange stuff that I like Adams is including in this. There's this weird time-displaced daughter he's got to deal with, and one that we've seen is kind of acting like a devil on his shoulder a little bit, and kind of pushing Aquaman to use his abilities in ways he never usually uses them, which is more violent orientated. She wants him to commit acts of violence to win the day or like best his enemy, something that Aquaman doesn't really want to do, but is starting to kind of come round on the idea of it, and that might be just because the power might be corrupting him. Now, with the past story out of the way, we return to the present and the big fight, where Hawkman comes at Arthur with his mace, knowing the Atlantean can't possibly win this since he's been a warrior throughout many generations, but Aquaman believes things have changed now. I like the book switching to Hawkman's POV and getting to see how he's dealing with all of this, citing Arthur as a good friend and ally, but also seeing how Mera was lost to him, and there's kind of like this darkness growing in him, although I fully believe that's just Andy's doing, as she's, as I said before, been trying to kind of corrupt Arthur a little bit. Hawkman and Aquaman clash their weapons together, but Carter can tell that Arthur doesn't have much experience with the new trident weapon he wields, and he's able to get the better of him, smashing Aquaman in the face with his mace. Carter thinks that this would have been easier for Aquaman if he was just around some water, but Arthur reveals there's always water around, using the water bending powers he got from Mera to pull moisture from the dry ground, causing giant water spouts to erupt from the ground. I really quite like where we're doing here, where we're doing a little bit of connecting between these two fighters like we did with the Superman and Captain Atom, kind of going on about like how they're kind of the same type of person, but not really. They have differing views, but they are very similar in a lot of ways. But I like here, it's just kind of two heroes duking it out, and that's what everyone wants to see. Everyone wants to see these guys fight, and that's what Jeremy Adams is giving us here. There's no special match setup or anything, no handicaps at each of them. It's just pure like action and them fighting. The fight also feels a lot more anime inspired than the Superman one, since we get water bending powers and a flying god man, and just how John Timms draws Arthur's water bending powers. There's like this anime battle spectacle to it all, and it's all just in full swing here. Arthur gets a great hype moment here as well when he summons the water, and he reminds Carter that the canyons he flies through, or the continents he has walked upon all across his years on Earth, exist because the water has receded, allowing those lands to show up. And the water just doesn't disappear, it doesn't just evaporate or anything, it just merely recedes, and Arthur is able to call that water back up. Arthur tells Carter to fly as fast as he can as a giant tidal wave bursts from the ground, surprising Hawkman, who knows that Aquaman never had this level of control over his power. The wave crashes over Hawkman, who can't differentiate from up from down thanks to the swirling vortex of liquid. Carter knows that whatever Aquaman has become now, it's not the friend he once knew, and now he's more chaotic and primordial. Aquaman appears in the water, charging Hawkman with his trident, stabbing him in the chest, and leading to Aquaman to win round 1. As Carter dies, Arthur gets a taste of the Heart of Apocalypse's power, imbued with just a little bit of that power so he can move on to the next round. While I think the time of Aquaman seen as a joke has kind of passed, I think that's kind of, old school now. I think there are still a few people out there who still think it, but I do love when writers don't waste any time giving him great moments to shine and use his powers in cool and interesting ways, breaking the whole, he just talks to fish idea that a lot of people had. And this has been also kind of a culmination of what Adams has been doing in the Aquaman book outside of these big events, which is giving Aquaman a new waterbending power, setting him up as an avatar of the blue, so now he's not in control of just the waters, around Atlantis or anything. He controls literally like universe level amounts of water, so just insane amounts of water are just at his whim, and he's able to do so much with it now that he has those waterbending powers, so he is not someone you really want to mess with right now. Back at the Watchtower, the Darkseid possessed Booster Gold is attacked by World Forger, who has found out about Darkseid's plan to get involved in the tournament. Booster attacks Forger, who decides that if Darkseid wishes to have Booster Gold, then Booster Gold is what he will get. Using his hammer, World Forger creates multiple Booster Golds, having them pile on the prime Booster Gold and overwhelm him. Booster Gold, however, screams that they are all nothing to him and nothing to Darkseid. Back in the tournament, round 2 is about to begin, with Carter respawning, and he kinda has become humbled a little bit here as he realizes he probably won't win this since Arthur has become something beyond elemental, something beyond a god. Speaking of gods, Horus presents themselves to Carter, telling him long ago they rested on Thanagar, and from there they set Carter and his ancestors out on their mission to make a world their own, and though it was hard, they eventually did. Horus asks Carter if he remembers when the god told Shira about what he would find and how he would find them a home. This is something that Adams did back in his Green Lantern Corps book a long time ago now. But Carter tells Horus that he does believe this, and he doesn't even question the god, and in doing so he gets a little bit of power that helps power himself up. And I feel this isn't Horus. I feel this is the Heart of Apocalypse kind of messing with Carter a little bit, kind of offering up a bit of power just so the fights keep going, so then it itself gets fueled even more by these fights. So it's like sort of a perpetual motion machine where it's just kind of feeding into itself and kind of making its own energy. And I could see this just being sort of some sort of smokescreen for the Heart of Apocalypse. But also there's the idea that if Horus is intervening here, like is, getting involved in this game and knows about what's going on, could this be considered cheating since the god, somehow gets into the game, gives its avatar a little bit of power, the horse it's betting on, it gives it that, steroid injection, hoping that it would win. So could this be considered cheating? Maybe. I guess maybe, time will tell, but I don't think it is. I think this is definitely the Heart of Apocalypse just messing with Carter a little bit. Arthur, meanwhile, finds himself in a new arena, which is the wreckage of what was once Amnesty Bay, finding the lighthouse his father used to man amongst the wreckage. He senses the chaotic energy in the reality, finding it's not just ripping at the world around him, but it's also gotten into the blue, which he feels is beginning to control him. He begins to feel the water being blown away as an armored Hawkman reappears, his gold wings blowing the water away from Aquaman as he brings his mace down on Arthur, smashing him into the ground before tossing him into space. Arthur feels the new power emanating from Carter as he is tossed into space, and he figures Hawkman believes that he has some type of advantage by keeping Arthur away from the water and up in the sky, but he is very wrong. Hawkman races to grab Aquaman, apologizing to him since he's been given power by his god to end this and to save the planet and bring his people to their new world, so Arthur doesn't need to struggle. This kind of confirms that Horus was the Heart kind of messing with Carter a little bit there, because that's the whole thing about this tournament, is the Heart showed each individual person in this tournament what would happen if they win, and it's like their perfect world and how they would see the world if they were able to have unlimited power. And I think this is definitely the Heart showing Carter that and giving him that little bit of power just to keep the fights interesting a little bit. Despite Hawkman's words, Aquaman grabs the hero's arm, forming frozen water crystals around him in space. He reminds Carter that there is always water everywhere, like in Hawkman's blood. He blasts Hawkman with his own blood, beginning to freeze and manipulate the blood within the hero, grabbing the hero and riding him down through the atmosphere. Arthur knows that it doesn't matter how much power you have, since he has the power of the blue, the thing that connects water all over the galaxy, and the same water that makes up 60% of the human body. As Hawkman begins burning up in the atmosphere, Arthur knows that while Hawkman may have the power of some god, his heart still pumps blood, and he can make that as stagnant as a pond. Arthur slams Hawkman into the ground hard, obliterating his body into ocean water, as he tells the dead hero that he is the Dark Tide. Oh man, so Aquaman here has just become the first hero to win both of their matches in one go. Hawkman didn't stand a chance at all, and I kind of feel bad for people who bet Carter would at least move on to the next tier, being he is, a seasoned warrior and, a good fighter. On a plot note, I wonder if this is Arthur finally embracing that Dark Tide aspect that Arion believed him to be, and him kind of falling for what Andy and the others have been putting into his head. Like, he knows he has to embrace that in order to win. And I like that Adams still worked the plot into the tournament arc here and continued forwarding his own stuff, since I think Aquaman could have a good chance of winning this. Like, he is pretty powerful now, and he has a huge leg up on the other heroes in the fight already, so I can't wait to see what he's going to do in his second tier of fights coming up later on in the month. Aquaman issue 12 was a no frills, all thrills one-on-one fight between Aquaman and Hawkman. Of course, the book titled Aquaman would see Aquaman win, but I feel thanks to what Adams and the others have been doing in the book before the KO event, it was well earned. It wasn't just given to Arthur just cause. He had the power and the tools in front of him to win, and he used them to win. Adams even found a moment to continue the Dark Tide storyline Arthur has been dealing with, and position Aquaman in a place that could realistically see him win this entire thing. So I'm really looking forward to what Adams, Scott Snyder, and the other writers will do with Aquaman going forward. I am going to give this issue an 8.5 out of 10.